I do believe we're recording, and I'm going to be talking to you about the principles of organization because this lesson expands your learning journey. We take you from the business of management principles to the actual principles. We've spoken about planning, and now we connect planning to organization theory. And this is again the time when I move to the corner of your screen. So let me share my screen with you. And you now have that in front of you. And you know where we're going with this whole thing. I'm going to call the presentation up in front of me so that I can advance it and tell you what my agenda is. That's fairly straightforward. We need to define things. And before we go any further, let me point out to you that when I say we need to define things, we need to define what organization and what organize are. But what you see in front of you here is the American spelling. And South African and UK English spells that with an S. So think about that when you write the word down. If you submit work, and certainly in your third year as an assignment, you might find lecturers who will criticize you for using American spelling. So on reflection, perhaps I should have got that right in the beginning. So we need to look at definitions, okay? Having looked at definitions, I will define organization structure as well. And having done that, we can try and suggest some sort of process. And if we are, in this week, looking at the process of organization and the manner in which that theory is constructed and assembled, then in a subsequent week, the second week of the theme, we're going to be looking at the actioning of that theory, the actioning of the practice, by giving you a real life example. Now, there are certain principles involved, and these won't be hard to learn because we've done them already. We did these principles, we covered them in the first 2 weeks of the module back in July and early August. And I think it's fitting to just round off this agenda page by showing you what I think is a universal understanding of what organization hierarchy looks like. You've got one person at the top, that's the boss, and you've got layers and layers and layers of people throughout the organization thereafter. So that's what we're going to see as we move through this presentation of mine. So with that in mind, let's advance and point out that Ellen Benevitz her chapter is a brilliant one, I think, because it's so simple to grasp, so simple to read. It's really straightforward and to the point. That's what I like about it, and I'd appreciate your feedback. So if you're watching this video, then leave me some feedback in the comments, please, and that gives me an idea. And that's the beauty of YouTube. Not so brilliant. I like the way they've organized it. See what I did there? Now, the deal is that getting things right with respect to organization can work very, very well. And getting it wrong can make a complete mashup of things. And we don't want the mashup. What we want is things to work well. And when things work well, it means that the decisions that people are making are good. And when things work well, they can respond to problems better. So think about the way your problems as a student are responded to by myself. It's a very direct contact, not so. If I know about your problem, I attend to it. What about your registration? How is that working for you? Was that smooth to arrange and coordinate? Or did you have one or two problems? Perhaps the organization structure doesn't quite work over there, and the way the work processes are organized don't quite work as we would like them to or prefer them to. What that does is start to influence employee attitudes. So the people you encounter in the college office, the people I encounter in the college office, their attitudes and their perceptions are complexioned by how easy they find it to get their work done. And how easy they find it to get their work done is a function of, I have to point out, the way the whole exercise is organized. And I will tell you that the South African Revenue Service, for example, many years ago, or at least 10 years ago now, perhaps more, the 15 changed their organization structure in order to create a so-called flat organization structure where there were fewer layers of hierarchy. And fewer layers of hierarchy means that you expect people to be their own boss, because now they don't have to be bossed around by a boss who then has to report to a boss who bosses them around, the boss of the bosses, so to speak. It's worked and it hasn't worked. It's certainly saved operating costs, but most people who work as tax consultants and as enterprise financial managers are finding that in practice, asking people to be their own boss only works if they have the capacity to be their own boss. So we'll return to that particular discussion when we start talking about leadership later on in the course. It optimizes efficiency. That's what it's about. You're saving costs. That's what efficiency is. It's cost saving. Now, think back, please, to the key features of planning. It requires decision making. And we know that there are strategic plans, tactical plans, the plans to make the operations work, and then the make a plan plans, the contingency plans. And that requires people doing different work in different places. And that shouldn't be difficult for you to grasp because you recognize it and you've seen the picture. The only thing that I've added over here is to introduce the fact that there's hierarchy, and that hierarchy exists inside the finance function, inside the personnel function, inside the operations function, and inside the marketing and sales function. Now, advancing on the basis of the fact that you understand what this is all about because you know it, we say that there is a link, and I think you saw it in that picture on the previous slide. But here's how the logic goes. As you advance your studies, because remember, this is a level 1 course and we're giving you a lot of information and we're not expecting you to be strategists and management experts. When we get through to level 3 of your degree studies and level 4, then we're going to point out that strategic planning requires the allocation of resources. And those resources can be technical and related to equipment and operations, but equipment requires an operator, and lots of equipment requires lots of operators. Think of a machine shop, as you might see in a YouTube video of a garment manufacturing production line. A lot of people, not so, and every sewing machine, in fact, comes with a human being, and then there are more human beings to look after the human beings operating the sewing machines. Human beings to fix sewing machines that break. That is the primary resource. But the goal really is highlighted, emblazoned in blue. We're talking about, and this is textbook language, the orderly use of resources by assigning and coordinating tasks. What that means is that we're giving tasks to the right sort of people at the right sort of time, and we're trying to coordinate the planning as it transpires in the marketing function and operations function and people and finance and administration. That being the case, you're very, very familiar with this because organization structure, as we see it illustrated over here with those images, is something that you've seen as an organizational chart when we spoke about famous brands. You're very comfortable with it. So there's no surprises here, which is a good thing, not so? The process that I hinted at when I specified what our agenda, if you like, might be for this whole exercise is that you need to know what you want to do. Do you want to mix mortar, daga, the good South African word, the word I've grown up with, so I'm going to use it. Do you need to install a window frame? Do you need to arrange a line of credit with a supplier? Do you need to obtain extended credit terms? Do you need to provide credit terms? What is the work that needs to be done? What work needs to be done in marketing and sales? What work needs to be done in finance and admin, and in operations, and in the personnel or people function? Then we give the job to the right person, and you're going to encounter that in management studies for the rest of your degree. We have to assign the tasks to the right sort of people with the right sort of skills to get the job done. And then you give them all a boss. There has to be a boss of someone. And you know there has to be a boss of someone, because we spoke about this when we looked at the principles of scientific management and what Henri Fayol had to say about this back in the early years of the 20th century, 1910 thereabouts. The deal is that we're trying to achieve this harmonious thing, like beautiful music, like adagio for strings. Now, if you get it right, then what happens is that everyone knows what they're doing and what they're supposed to be doing, and they can coordinate with each other. But if it's badly arranged, then they won't coordinate well at all, and it's not going to work well. And that's the principle I highlight for you there. The issue is that bad organization and bad management communication can result in unhappy people who can't get things done. I get distressed when I see that there's a student who can't register a course, and it upsets me, because it shouldn't be like that. At this point in your life, you should be seeing exemplars of good management. We should not be teaching you management by showing you bad examples of what not to do. What we want is that, and what we don't want is that. Straightforward, simple, get it into your head. It's a simple elementary process. Beyond that, we're saying plans are implemented and devised on the basis of the objectives that the plan is intended to achieve, correct? And that being the case, what the managers do is look at the plans on an ongoing basis to say, are things working? And they look to see what jobs need to be done to get the work done, and they then group people together according to what makes sense. And what makes sense is these 4 models of departmentalization. And the 4 models are something we'll explain, but we're saying you can divide things up according to functions. That's not scary, because marketing, operations, people, money. That's the easy one. But you can have marketing, operations, people, and money, and especially marketing on a geographical basis. In other words, an office in Gauteng and an office in Durban looking to sell things, even if they're being manufactured in Gqeberha. Not so? You can also departmentalize on the basis of product, because you might have a manufacturing facility in Westmead, for example, and the manufacturing facility in Westmead might make a certain product, whereas there might be a manufacturing facility in addition to that somewhere in Meerwent. And Meerwent and Westmead are a distance from each other, and I think that you would then make a particular product in one place and another product in the other one. I must tell you that Toyota South Africa work accordingly. So what we make is a particular set of vehicles here. What BMW do in Rosslyn, Pretoria is make a particular set of vehicles. And Ford in Nelson Mandela, in the Cape, in the Eastern Cape, will manufacture Ford Rangers for right-hand drive markets, and they then get exported. So, the other thing is, I've nearly moved on. I'm going to point out that you can also by the way, divide things up according to customers. So you put a structure together which says that I, for example, might be in charge of what happens in KwaZulu-Natal, but you might have someone who says, let's have someone report to Dr. Doug, and what they will do is look after Northern Natal. And then you'll have someone look after Central Natal, KwaZulu-Natal, and someone look after Southern KZN, Uguwe, all right? And they all report to me, but we've now divided the departments up on the basis of customer. I'm going to be the boss of the customer lot, but I'm still probably going to report to someone who's my line manager. They drive a bigger BMW than me, and that makes them my boss, and they have authority over me, and they assign some of the authority that they have to me to tell the people that report to me in Northern KZN and Central KZN and Southern KZN. That authority gets assigned to me, and I tell those people what to do, and they carry out the work. Sounds all right? Not so? Speak to your parents about this. Now, you can also then put together a hierarchy of relationships. That's something you're familiar with. And I think in this first video, which is now 15 minutes long, it's about the right time to say that if you look to benefits and page 59, what you're going to find is that particular illustration, and that's going to explain it all to you. And on the basis of explaining it all to you, I can say, very nice being able to talk to you through this lesson. You know what to do. You need to make sure that you've got a set of notes, and if you have, then you can move on to the next lesson, the second part of the first week in this theme.